Hey, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our Wednesday webinar. My name is Vija Williams. I am with Kinney companies and Place and all sorts of different adventurous companies that I'm involved with. We are here every single Wednesday at noon Pacific time to focus on you, my fellow agents. That's what we do. We interview best-in-class agents that are doing extraordinary things, and we drill down and teach you everything we know about what they're doing. So today I am continuing my solo agent series. I'm really excited about it. I've got Simi Kerr with me, and Simi is an extraordinarily successful solo agent. Last week we had Catherine Rain, so I encourage you to look at the replay of that. We always have replays on YouTube and on the Pivot Shift Ahead page, which we're live on right now. And I just want to continue this series because I'm a big believer in teams. In fact, my livelihood is in teams. Place is the platform for teams, right? And also, I'm a really big supporter of the solo agent, and I want to show what that looks like as well, right? That you can be successful as a solo agent. So Simi, welcome, and I'm really excited to have you here today. And there's a lot I'm excited to talk to you about, but maybe you could kind of introduce yourself, tell everybody where you're from and how and why you got into real estate. And don't be shy, tell everybody why you got in.
Thank you, Via. Thank you for having me here, and I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm from Seattle. I serve the greater Seattle area, and I've been in real estate for 5 years. This is my 6th year going on. And why I got into real estate? Well, that's a very interesting story. When we were buying our first home, it was a very difficult transaction, let's just say that. And our agent was not very helpful. And it was just like a calling that I will be able to help others. And during that transaction, I got enrolled into a real estate class and got my license, and there's been no looking back.
Well, I love that. And, I think there's a lot of people who actually, get into real estate for that reason. So I am glad you weren't too shy to share it. Because I knew that was the reason, obviously. We have these awesome prep calls that we do. And it also, I think what's fascinating is I know that what's cool is you just joined one of the offices that I help lead, right? For those of you who don't know, I help to lead. We have 8 real estate offices here in Washington, and Simi joined one of them a couple of months ago. And what's fascinating is you had done 42 million in the rolling 12 months leading up to coming to our office. Remember, this is Simi and an assistant. You put 20 into contract your first 30 days, Simi, coming into this office. I don't think I've ever experienced that. Most of our teams don't do 20 transactions in 30 days. What's your average price point, by the way?
I want to say it's higher, but it's not. It's about $1 million.
Okay, so everybody. So because there's some people watching from markets like, Detroit and, or Greenville maybe, and you're like, well, okay, like 20 transactions is a good month, but like, whatever. Okay, $1 million is her average price point. So when I say 20 houses in contract in 30 days, I want to be crystal clear. She put 20 million in contract on her first month. So that's pretty amazing. I mean,
yeah, it was exciting. I think that's it was exciting for me too, because it was one of those months when I was on fire and I was super excited to be part of Keller Williams. And, I think your energy always filtrates into your business, because I had so much energy. And the reason I got into Keller Williams is So, so I think it was just super conducive that everything around me was like, we were watching and we're seeing, and you're a high producer, and so I was like, yeah, let's start with a bang.
Well, she's just saying that because I've got her on camera. No, it was really fun to watch. I mean, let's go backwards a little bit though. Well, let's not go backwards. Let's start with 2021. Now that we're in September, do you know how many houses you think you're going to sell this year, or what your volume is going to be?
So my goal for the year was 65. At this point, I am 51 sold and pending. So hopefully we'll meet my targets.
And that's about 50 million then in volume based on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe a little over, because there've been, I have two kinds of categories of clients, one who are below 500 and then the others are like above 1.5 million. And so the average kind of comes up to 1 million. Yeah. So sometimes when you end up doing more of those 1.5 million transactions, then your volume goes higher. But yeah, roughly about 51 million or maybe a little more.
Well, I get that. So now that we ended with the punchline, right? Now we're gonna go back and we're gonna kind of walk through how you got here, and then I want to talk about, there's some really important things that I really want to spend some time on along the way, because what I want everybody to hear now up front that we're going to go over is that you have been fiercely adherent about not wavering from your commission, not giving rebates. You are very strict, and again, I want to be careful with sharing commissions on a public forum, but the commission rate you have stated you do not waver from. You charge your full commission, and so we're going to get into how you do that. What you do at a buyer consult and what you do at a listing consult to get such high results at full bore commission, right? And I think that's worth talking about. And I think everybody watching and listening thinks that's worth talking about. Don't you guys? How to set that up and how to get past that objection. So many people in this market are asking for reductions in commission or, rebates of some sort. And if you're in a market that doesn't have, you're in a non-rebate state, there's still a lot of value because you can still give discounts. So we're going to cover all the bases today. So let's get back into it. It's 2016. You didn't have a great transaction and you felt a calling to get into real estate. What were you doing then, Simi?
I was an educator before I got into real estate, and 2015 end was when we bought our home, and 2016 is when I got my license. For the first year of my getting the license, I didn't leave my job. I was still working at a school. I wasn't confident if I was going to be able to make it in real estate, even though it was such a strong calling. There's always nervousness of going into territories that are very different. And I was a new immigrant to the country too. Like I moved to US in 2013, didn't know many people. Every real estate class I went to, they would talk about a sphere of influence. And I had no sphere of influence. I didn't know anybody here. So it was really, I just didn't know what to do at that point. So I didn't leave my job. But what I did start doing was I started doing open houses. And then that's where I built up my career, or my entire profession of real estate was on open houses. And I was very, very fortunate to get my first client who I got a dual deal. So I listed their home and I bought them a new home.
Oh, it was your first
and
one.
There was never a conversation of commission with them. And I did it full commission. And I think that's also a big instrumental in the way my path waved out, and I've always been a firm believer of your own value. And if you can't value yourself, nobody else will value you. And since I did my very first transaction so successfully without any rebate or in my commission or stuck to my guts, I think it just got easier. And believe me, as a new agent, you're asked for discounts and rebates even more than I am today.
Well, let's talk about that. So, you start getting your first deals. When was the first time someone asked for? By the way, I think we should state that you, from the get-go, you've worked with more buyers, right? Than sellers. Yeah. Which I think that's also interesting, everybody, so let's shelve that a minute. But when was the first time you were asked for a discount or a rebate?
I want to say early 2017.
So about a year in, or not even a year.
Like 6 months in. I got my license end of May or early June. So yeah, about 6 months in, it's funny because I was asked about a rebate from a client who was already in transaction. So
yeah.
I had put him under contract in February. It was a brand new construction, was about, I think, 6 or 8 months out. And he calls me up, I want to say April, and says, well, I've heard everyone else gets a discount or a rebate. And I think, I've heard that commissions are shared. So what's my share of your commission? And this was on the phone, and I wasn't prepared for it. It just came out of the blue. And I didn't even, I just got a second to think over what I needed to say. And I just went ahead and said, you know what? That's my commission. That's my salary. Do you want to give me part of your salary? I'll trade for mine then. And he was taken aback because he didn't expect this from me. He thought I would just give in. And he was like, well, I don't think I can do anything at this stage. But I thought it was worth asking. And I said, of course, everything is worth asking. But that's not how I am building up my business.
I love that. I love that you acknowledged and honored the question. It's like, hey, I don't slam you for asking, like, thanks for asking. And the answer is no. And I'm going to give you a polite no, basically. And you kind of, it's an empathetic response. It's like, everybody can relate to getting paid for what they do. So I think that's for having a millisecond to figure it out, that's a really good objection handler.
Yeah, and then that gave me food for thought. And after that, I sat down and I looked at different agents' models, and I was like, who do I want to be like? And then there was something in me that said no. And I think one of the other reasons that I never got into rebating my commission was that I got into coaching very early on. Within about 4 or 5 months of getting my real estate license, I was in coaching already. So the first person to go to was my coach, and I sent him a text message and I said, I got asked for a rebate. What does that really mean? And in our next coaching call, I think we spent several coaching calls on just this one topic. And he was the one who really instilled that value that you're worth way more. And if you don't believe in yourself, nobody is going to. And it's up to you which model you want to choose. You want to choose a rebate model, or do you want to work full commission? You choose. And that helped me solidify my beliefs. And as I started, there was a time I was losing more clients than I was getting. And now probably it's 50-50.
I want to dive into this. This is really, really important. There's a lot of people in a lot of markets who, really deal with this, frankly. So what does it sound like when a client asks for, what are a couple different ways that they ask for a rebate? Because I've experienced it too. And sometimes it's kind of awkward. Sometimes they're very shy about it. Sometimes they're very bold about it, right? So what are some ways that comes out?
I think what happens now is that I still love working with buyers. So that's kind of my niche. I love first-time home buyers, and I really, really like working with them. So it gives me so much joy working with them. And I never meet a buyer at a house. They have to come to my office for a buyer's consultation. And if they don't come, I don't think they really want to work with me. So when we have that buyer's consultation, it usually goes about an hour and a half. And during that time, I bring it up myself. So I tell them, before you even think about it, or you get to know later, or it's on your mind right now, let's talk about commission. How do I get paid? And I tell them I get paid by the seller. Well, recently I've had a buyer's agency agreement signed where I have made the buyer sign where saying that if the commission is not enough, they will cover, which is just really recent, but it started. And so I bring up that myself and we have a conversation on that. And there are questions like, why is it so? Every other agent gives. And it's funny because the people that I have these conversations, some of them are like, that's fine, that's what you earn and you need to keep it. We are not even interested in it. And some of them will ask questions like, why my friends got this much and why can't we get it? But the funniest part is the people who question me the most after our transaction closes, send me the maximum number of referrals. So somewhere it hits them.
Why do you think that is?
I think they really realize the value that's brought to them during the transaction. And especially because I say no to them, they go and, and when they talk about me to their friends, or, when they're closing a home, how they got a home, how the negotiations went. And their friends are like, oh, our agent never did this for us. Our agent never told us this. Your agent sent you the utilities list to change over the utilities. We had to figure it out ourselves after moving in. So I've heard all these remarks from my clients, and they're like, you know what our friends said? So they're very proud, because they feel that they didn't ask for a rebate and I was really, really on top of everything. So they feel proud of that fact.
It's interesting, kind of going back to something you said. So, because I do want to go back, you said everyone has to have a buyer consult, but, everyone you meet with, right? You don't just go meet them at the house. So I actually think I want to ask you what your lead sources are. Do you work with internet leads?
I have dabbled into internet leads, not too much. Most of my business comes from referrals. I am active on social media, so I do get leads from Facebook and Google sometimes, but they're much more warmer leads. I don't get the cold internet leads. I don't know. If you want to be specific on what internet leads you're talking about.
So when you talk about Facebook, because I just happen to know the answer, I think what you're talking about are the groups, right? Like the mom groups or the neighborhood groups, and you may not know them, but you have something in common, and you might have a knowledge of, you've both been interacting together. Maybe is that accurate?
Similar, yeah. I don't do too much paid advertisement on Facebook unless I'm on the listing side and I'm, promoting a listing. Then I would go ahead and promote it by a paid ad. Yeah, but I'm dabbling into it right now.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say is I personally think if you're meeting people at open houses or you're getting referrals, especially from past clients, it probably is easier to kind of enforce that, having people, meet you for a buyer consult, right?
Yeah, I think even the few leads that I've got on Boomtown, uh, I still enforce that unless they're out of town. And if they're out of town, I want to have a Zoom
Great.
meeting.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
and that's just something I like. I don't want to be showing homes without meeting them in person. I'm very clear. That's something that's very, very clear to me.
That's great. Sue Adler, one of my closest friends, who used to run a company called Here at Direct. And by the way, I've had Sue on before. I'll have her on again. She's a phenomenal, tremendous agent in New Jersey. And Here at Direct was a company, they used to do focus groups, Simi, for buyers and sellers within 6 months after they sold. And they hired market research companies. These are strangers. These are true screened focus groups, like no one knew anybody, right? Behind the windows, the shaded
Yeah.
windows, right? The real market research companies did it. And they to understand, how we could better the buyer and the seller experience with real estate agents specifically. Do you know that? And so I was involved in one of those panels at Inman. And do you know the number one thing that within the 6 to 12 months, it might have been, period, after buyers bought, that they said that they wished they had gotten and they didn't get during the experience was a buyer consult. And they said they didn't know what they didn't know at the time. They didn't know what a buyer consult was. And they thought that they just wanted to go see the house, and so they actually resisted it, right? And so it's sort of our job as salespeople to influence people to understand how important it is. They may not know what they don't know, but it's they need it just as much as we need it. We all
Exactly,
need that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I tell them that, sometimes they'll resist. We have small kids and it's hard. Can we not meet at the house? And I'm like, no, if we meet at the house, we'll discuss the house. Do you want to discuss about the buying process at the house, or do you want to discuss the house there? Believe me, it's going to be worth every minute that you spend with me. And I really want to make sure that we are a right fit for each other, that you like me and I like you, and we can work together. If we can't work together, then it's no point meeting at the house. So they get it. There are some who refuse and don't come, and that's fine. They're not just my clients.
Well, I love that. How many people would you say that you get as a referral, or you might click with at an open house or whatever, who you don't get past that? They just you lose. Who just won't meet with you for a buyer consult because they just want to go see a house.
That doesn't happen that often to me. Like if I ask people for a buyer's consult, I'm able to get them. The only reason I'm not able to convert them, if I'm not able to convert them, is just because of the commission.
Yeah.
That's my biggest hindrance. And that's fine. We just have different mindset. And so it's very difficult to connect when your mindsets are not similar.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about this magical, mystical buyer consult because this so far this buyer consult is staving away rebates. It's fighting against all discounts, and it's, as far as I can tell, it's converting almost every single person that you meet, right? So what do you cover in your buyer consult? Tell us, oh teacher.
I think I make it very casual. I do have some points. I really want to know their motivation for buying. Why are they going to be, are they looking at the home as an emotional and investment, or are they only looking at it as an investment? I also want to see what the wife wants and what the husband wants.
So I'm taking notes. So motivation. I take notes at my own webinars, by the way. Side note.
Yeah, I really want to make sure that they both know what they want, because you'll be surprised at every buyer's consult. I have a husband who has a very different mind. A house that's very different, it doesn't look like the house the wife wants. And
by the way, I've done this 20 years. See me, amen. It's like marriage counseling. I always tell new agents, what you don't know is you're about to be a counselor.
You are.
Yeah.
It's funny because my husband, who is now helping me with real estate, and I sent him to a walkthrough recently, and he texts me from there and he says, they're fighting. What am I supposed to do?
So, yeah. So what do you do? So let's teach everybody. I mean, I know what I do, but what do you do?
And I was like, that's okay if they're fighting. Let them fight. You don't say anything. And this is a walkthrough. They're closing in a couple of days. Then they were fighting over how they're going to place the bed in the master bedroom.
Oh, that's a good fight. Those fights are fine. The hard ones are, because I've literally had these. Husband, I want a condo in downtown Seattle. Wife, I want to go buy a farm in Marysville, like an hour out, right? Those are the fun ones where you're
I think one of the major things in the buyer's consult is I make sure that the husband and wife come to a conclusion on what.
Or husband and husband, or wife and wife. I didn't mean to say.
Yeah, like just partners. Yeah, I get a lot of unmarried couples too, Yeah, so both the partners understand that what they're looking to buy is similar. So I make one of the partners say first what they want, and then I ask the other partner to tell me what they want. And then I flesh it out and say, let's discuss what we are going to start looking at. And it's funny because that takes a lot of time during the buyer's consult, but we finally come to a conclusion. They're usually very clueless on the areas they want. They're also clueless on the budget. They have a budget that they have set in their mind. And even though they've been looking at all the internet sites, they just don't know how much their budget can buy them and what can they. So some of them are very unrealistic and some of them are over realistic. So yes. It's a fine balance between making them understand what they want, what are we going to start looking at, what's our plan A, and if plan A doesn't succeed in a month's time, how are we going to go to plan B and then plan C?
So what do you know about your buyers before you even walk into the buyer consult? Do you have, do you go through a questionnaire on the phone with them? Do you have them fill something out?
We do have a questionnaire, and I think my assistant did share that with Robin.
I might have been teeing you up for that.
Yeah, and I don't have them fill out anything before they meet me. We've discussed this a lot. My assistant does want me to have them fill out the questionnaire before they come for the consult. I'm not very sure if I really want them to work so hard before they meet me. But I have that questionnaire. Sometimes I'll have them fill it out, and sometimes I'll keep asking questions based on that questionnaire. And I make sure that everything is covered. But what I do is I do look them up before I go and meet them. So I will look at their social media profiles. I'll look at their LinkedIn profiles. And if there's someone that I really, really need to know more about because I can't find much, there's a software called Crystal Knows.
What's it called?
Crystal Knows.
Okay, Crystal Knows.
Yeah, and I use that sometimes.
And what does it do?
It just pulls up the person's profile.
Oh, Crystal Knows. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so if I get doubt, about someone that I need to know in detail. If not, then just the social media and LinkedIn profiles work.
Well, everybody here is a gift. If you're watching or listening, you can download Simi's buyer intake form right now. I just did it. You can go to benkinneyagenttraining.com and it'll be in your inbox in about 30 seconds. So what you're saying is you fill this in kind of as you're meeting or after you meet with them. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Sometimes I'll hand them over. Some people are very analytical and logical, and they need to write down something to be sure that they're going to be working with them. Then I'll hand them over to fill it out.
Got it. There is some research, and it would be interesting to experiment with this a little bit. I've had Frank Klesitz on here before. He was my first webinar of the year, and I think he's a genius. He is a marketing genius, and more specifically, he's a real estate marketing genius. I've started in an investment company that Frank's helping me with, and he has a lot of marketing research. I'll have him back, that talks about the more homework people do before they step into a meeting or an event with you, the more bought in they are. So if you can get them to do a long questionnaire, your conversion will go up. Now you have to, the trick is, can you get them to do it? So if you can, which most people kind of enjoy filling good forms out. They sort of like it, right? And there's a lot of, Google Forms does a good job and they're quite easy. So I'm of the mindset, and I've gone on and off with this, Simi. I've had these pre-buyer intake forms at various stages. I haven't been that consistent, right? But they like filling them out. I haven't had a problem with it. So it's just something to think about. That people.
Yeah, that's what my assistant says to her. She's very firm, and she's like, if you have them fill it out. I do sometimes on the phone tell them, your homework is ABC. Do your homework when you come to meet me, but it's still oral. It's not like written.
I think it has to be the right person, because I'm with you. There's some clients who might be off-put that you're having them do work. They may not feel that you're serving them. I hear you. Like, I think you have.
And some of them, because they're just coming for a buyer's consult and are not sure if they're going to end up working with you, don't want to give out too much information beforehand.
For sure. And I do think you're right on that. I just thought it's an interesting conversation, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. So Crystal knows, and then you can download Simi's buyer intake form at benkinneyagenttraining.com, and you can take what Simi does and you can, make it your own, right? You can edit that.
Modify it and share with me too.
So you kind of started to go into it. Would it be okay if we kind of dove into this a little more? So we're in the buyer intake, or we're in the buyer consult. Let's do a little role play, and we're in there, and this is great, and I want to work with you. Of course, I would want to work with you. Oh my goodness, I can't imagine how lucky your clients are to work with you. So, you mean I get to spend time with you and get a house at the end? What? Yes, I'm in. So, but Simi, I just, I want to have a talk with you, because I'm hearing some of my friends are telling me that I'm not sure how this works, but I can get money back from you, when I buy a home, kind of like Redfin. And, would you be willing to do that? I'm seeing ads, and I'm seeing I can get maybe $5,000 back sometimes, so I'd love to have 5,000 back. How does that work? Would you do that for us, Simi?
No.
That's
how exactly I say. And they're just taken aback, because I look at them and I shake my head and I say, no. And then I said, then I just talked to them. I said, why did you come to me? Where did you hear? So just to go back a little, when I do the buyer's consult, I've been an educator for all my life, and having had all kinds of life experiences, I'm usually able to pick out who's going to ask for a discount. And I tweak the buyer's consult and I bring it up in like first 15, 20 minutes because I don't want that consult to even go over 30 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And so I bring it up myself. And most of the times it's this, do you know how I get paid? And they'll say, yeah, you get paid from the seller. And some of them will just say at that point, you know, you get paid from the seller and part of it that you give back to us. So it's easy to go back and say, no, that's not how I work. And I'll let you know why. And if they're a referral from a friend, I'll say you should go back to your friend and ask them why they chose to work with me. And I recently had, like Monday, I think I did a buyer's consult. And this guy, his best friend, I helped him buy a home. And then he was like, I want to work with you. And then while we were just discussing on what they were looking for, because his friend I know very well, so I was like, he wouldn't send me anybody who wants a rebate. And then he's like, you know, my colleague also bought it through you. So I said, oh, so you have multiple sources. And then he asks me about the rebate. And I was like, you have two sources and you're still asking about it. And he got so ashamed and he was like, no, I just wanted to check. I don't want a rebate. I really want to work with you.
You shamed him. I love it.
And it's in a very nice, polite way. And then I just casually told him, I said, you know, you want someone working for you. There's no free lunch in this world.
Right.
If I give you part of my salary, I'm going to cut corners because I need to compensate that amount in another way. So if I'm working with 5 buyers right now, I would need to work with 10 buyers if I'm doing that, because then it has to be churning out, because otherwise the commission is not going to be enough for me. So, and he was like, no, I don't want to even discuss it. I just want to work with you. So this one was cut short, but there are people who are like, why? Why is it? And then I just go on explaining, and I have n number of stories where I'll tell them, you know, let's look at this house. This was listed at this, they got it at this. You know, there's several stories, whether you put an early offer and got them a house or you negotiated. And there've been times when my clients look at a contract and look at the competing offer. And they look at the competing offer and they call me and said, why did we get the house? That offer was better than ours. And I said, just because you have a good agent. And those things stick with them. So when they refer their friends to me, they tell them those stories. It's become much easier over the years, I think, because right now, 80% of my business is referral.
Yeah.
So it's not so much that I have to talk about rebate, but.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I did not mean to interrupt you at all. Keep going.
No, but in the early days when I didn't have data and I didn't have so much referral business, I had to talk about it way more.
That's what I want to talk about, actually. So that was perfect. So, because you referred to it, I want to go there. You mentioned in the early days, you got rejected more than you won, right? So what kind of a value proposition did you kind of create and craft for yourself? You know, when people were continually saying, well, I don't want to work with you when 5 other agents over here are going to rebate, you know, what do you say, Simi, to make them want to work with you, to make you worth them working with you despite not getting the rebate? Is it the stories?
It's the stories. It's mostly the stories. And I am a good storyteller. There was a time I did storytelling workshops for teachers.
Oh, good. You know, I did not know that about you. It's really funny that we're talking about this because my objection handling is mainly telling stories too. That's how I tend to do it. Not with scripts, more stories.
I don't think I can do scripts. It's more from personal experiences. I don't like to shame any other agent, so I don't bring up any other agents' listings or any others. anything from any other agent. It's all my own stories. And if they talk about any specific agent and I just don't talk to them about it. As like everyone has their different model of working. This is the model Simi Real Estate chose when we when we set up Simi Real Estate. These were few things that were important to us. And then I go through my own story of my buying my own home because we did work with a discount agent. My husband
Oh,
wanted that rebate. And so sometimes I just go back to my own story of buying my own home and how I wish I had an agent who could have explained. And it's such a most important investment because, like I said, I really like working with first-time home buyers. So 80% of my buyers are first-time home buyers.
yeah.
It's kind of my niche, and they connect to me at that level because I am able to connect to them because I went through so much pain as a first-time home buyer, which now I think is a blessing in disguise because real estate was never on my radar. I never even looked at it as a profession. I was searching for a profession because I was so new in this country. I had set up two businesses before real estate failed miserably on them.
Well, this is your
But
calling for sure. This is your calling.
yeah, so I think,
What would be a
yeah.
story that you would say is an objection handler? What might be a story for a buyer or a seller? You know, a buyer who's asking for a rebate or a seller who's asking for a reduced commission. Can you think of a story you might say in this context to a prospect?
Give me a little more context.
Well, I've had a couple questions on ours. Okay, here's one. I'll tell one of mine, and this will probably jog you for one of yours. I have a client who, now these are yesterday's dollars because it's a 4 or 5 year old story, but you could adjust it for today's dollars. But I had a listing in Kirkland that we listed at 690. And we got multiple offers, and we're going to sell it at 725. It was 725, I believe. And here in Washington, we have an escalation clause, which means you can beat the best offer by a certain increment. I know it's not available in every state, kind of like eBay, buying on eBay. We had the winner, it was actually 727.5, I'm remembering now, because they were going to beat the best offer by 2,500. And the second best offer, right, was 725. So we got it up to 727.5. But they were willing to go up to 755, which is tough when you're the listing agent because you can see that you have somebody willing to go that high. So clients came in, I think I had 6 or 7 offers in our hand, and they were going to be so happy with 727. They had no idea. This was back before multiple offers came. But right before they came, an agent called me, said, look, I know offers were already due a couple hours ago, but I'm in front of your house and they want it. And, would you wait for us? And I'm like, well, I mean, they were due already, but I'll tell you what, it literally have to be 750. It would have to be at least 750. Would they be willing to do that? Give me 5 minutes. He calls me back. He said, yes, with an escalation, maybe, I don't remember all the details. It was 4 or 5 years ago. My clients came in with their 2 kids in tow, by the way, and I greeted them. And I said, congratulations. And I said, and they could see the champagne. And I had a little setup I do. And we have multiple offers. And I said, it's going to be a wonderful evening for you guys. And I was wondering, would it be okay if you guys take the kids and go to dinner and come back in an hour? And they go, but we had a meeting. I thought we were going to go over, I go, well, you do have multiple offers. That's my good news. I'm going to just give you a spoiler alert, but I want to make you more money. Would it be okay if I have 1 more hour of negotiation time? I believe I can make my commission and more in this hour. Would it be okay if I did that? And of course, the answer is yes. By the time they came back, I had that up to 755 or so, give or take. And by the time they walked in that door, we had gone from 725 to 755. I tell that story all the time about how not only did I paid my commission and more by making that series of decisions, making those judgment calls, calling, working the phone, in between all of that, right? I have 25 of a year of those stories, right? And that, Mr. Seller, is what you're hiring. That moment is what you're hiring. You're not hiring a pretty flyer, although I do pretty flyers. And you're not hiring beautiful photography, although I have gorgeous photography. You're hiring that moment. It's an art, it's a skill, it's experience, right? And that's where we make our money, Mr. Seller, right? So that's how I use a story. That would be me in role play mode. I'm sure you have a million of them.
Yeah, I do have such stories too, and I think it just depends on who is asking for what, and I bring up those stories. Recently, I had someone. This is a story I think I'm going to keep telling for a long time. Was someone put it on Facebook and said, I had listed my home with someone. It did not sell. So I'm looking for a new agent, and none of the agents need to respond. It has to be responded only by people who have worked with other agents. If an agent responds, I'm going to disqualify that agent. So it was a really strong note. I definitely saw it. So did a couple of my sellers. I think what I really am blessed to have is that my people are willing to share their experiences, even without me asking them to do so. 2 hours later, I look at the post again and I see 2 of my sellers have commented there, and one has just gone in depth and gone ahead and done everything you would want to speak. And then later that evening, I get a text from one of my sellers and say, "Oh, she reached out to me," and I was like, "Really?" And then I go for the buyer, and so then I get an email from them saying that we are sending out emails to 6 agents, and you're one of them we've chosen to. So these are our questions. Can you answer them?
Intense.
And
oh, did she freeze up on everyone else, or is that just me? Did she freeze up on everyone else too? Yeah. Shoot.
that we have shortlisted.
Oh, there you are. You came back. So they sent an email to 6 agents.
And yeah, and then they came back and said that, after 6 agents, 3 more emails. Then I got an email saying we've shortlisted 3 agents to meet in person, and you're one of them. So I go for that interview as well, and I sell myself and my services. And the thing is, what I don't overpromise. I always underpromise and overdeliver. So when I sell, I'm very genuine, and whatever I talk about, I will deliver. So I don't have any fluff or anything there. It's me, genuine me. You can see me, you can look into my eyes, and I'm being honest. And I told them this is how it's going to work. I did that listing at 6%, where 3.5% was my listing fees. It had been listed with a 1% agent, someone whose listing fees was 1%, and couldn't sell it. And I sold that home at their dream value. Like they wanted 165 for it. I got them 165. A lot of negotiation, very similar to your story. But I did get them. And yesterday, somebody else asked about what do you need to do to your yard before selling. And she went on Facebook and responded and said, call Simi and she'll tell you.
That's wonderful. Someone asked, I've had a couple of questions pop up, like, how do you get all these referrals? And part of it, you guys, that is a great way to use social media. When you use these neighborhood groups, and part of it is just training your sphere of influence and your supporters to talk about you. It's hard to talk about yourself, and it's also kind of hard to get them to talk about you. Do you have any scripts or do you say anything to your clients or past clients see me to encourage them to respond like that?
Yes, it's very conscious. It's very conscious when we get into contract, and I call them for congratulations of whether it's a buyer or a seller. When we get under contract, when I call them to congratulate that we have got under contract, I tell them, if you have anyone looking to buy or sell, please think about me. That's my first feed into them. Midway during the transactions, when we talk, again, I request for referrals. When we close, I request for referrals. So I make sure that every transaction, there are 3 points where I shamelessly go ahead and ask for more business from them. And it's very casual. And I tell them, who would want to be as happy as you are? Just think about them and send them my way.
Well, the way you worded that is really, really good, though. It's very specific, who would want to be. It's not, do you know anyone who's buying or selling? It's who do you know, basically, right? Who do you know? I really like that wording. That's really good.
So it's like, who wants to be as happy as you, and send them my way. It was funny because a client I was talking about that I did a buyer's consult on Monday. So my buyer who sent the referral texted me and said, I have kept my promise of sending you my referral. So they take it so seriously because they think that they told me that they'll be sending referrals my way. So they keep looking out for me. And I was like, really? I thought it was 10 referrals.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Do you send them like thank yous, or like, what do you do when they send you a referral?
We've been doing, I recently have started sending out a referral gift. Once they send me a referral, but so many years I haven't done anything. We want to get it structured. That's one of things on our agenda is for next year is to have our referral, so far I just call them and say thank you. I really haven't done much, but I do send out gifts to my sphere twice a year. So
okay.
So I do mention it in those thank you notes.
Do you send emails regularly? Do you have a good sphere campaign, email campaign or anything like that? Or do you mail them stuff?
Yeah, we have a weekly newsletter that goes out to my entire database, which includes all my past clients. And it goes out every week. So every Friday they get an email from me.
That's really consistent. What do you put on there?
It's pretty simple. I do this motivational Monday video every week. So we just put that video link there, and then we'll put a couple of things on real estate. It's very short. You can read it in like 5 minutes. And then what's the Seattle market looks like, and homes to buy and homes to sell which links to our website.
Yeah. Okay. So they're here. That's good. They're kind of hearing from you consistently like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It took us a long time to get to that format.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. What, I'm trying to remember, I had a question. Let me just go back to it.
I know there have been a lot of questions here too.
I think we've covered most of them as we've gone, because I've been keeping back.
Okay, I haven't.
One of the questions was, if you guys don't have stories of your own, one thing I train our agents all the time on is to use the royal we and us, meaning, if you're in, for instance, one of our Ben Kinney network offices, my story is your story, because you can say we or us. If they say, how many houses have we sold in this neighborhood, look up how many houses your office or your firm has sold in that neighborhood, So use the collective group that you're in, as a story, like, well, or, partner up with somebody. If you really have, are in stiff competition to get a listing, especially, you won't need to partner up with someone on a buyer, but on a listing, you might have to partner up with a more senior agent. Getting 50% of a really, really good listing is better than getting 100% of nothing.
Yeah, true.
What other advice do you have for everybody listening, Simi?
I think just be yourself, believe in yourself, never leave your values, be honest, be ethical, and work for your clients. It's always clients come before me, and that's never going to change. For me, they're the most important people in my life, and I treat them like that. Once we start working together, they are part and parcel. Like I tell my clients, I am going to be part and parcel of your life, and so are you going to be part and parcel of my life. Once we start working together. And that's true. I make sure that I'm in touch with them. I don't lose, it's never out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. And they feel very, very comfortable calling me anytime.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is true. I think that's a great place to end, actually. I think that feels like a perfect natural place to wrap. We are going to try something new, everybody, especially my regulars. This is going to be new. We are going to try and experiment with doing some of our Wednesday webinars, pre-recording them, not on Wednesdays. We're going to still air them on Wednesdays. So if you are not on our mailing list, now is the time to get on our mailing list to keep track of us, so that you can be on the recordings, because as you can tell, we're highly interactive. We like to get your questions and to address them. So benkinneyagenttraining.com will do that. And it is always, if you're ever interested, by the way, ever in talking to me about, Ben Kinney, Keller Williams, about place, about any of the things that I work in, if you've ever been curious about it, you can always reach out to me. I've got a million email addresses, but Vija at benkinney.com is probably the easiest one. That's V as in Victor, IJA at benkinney.com. I've had a couple of people, reach out over the last couple months, and I forget to say that, right? I am here for you. My heart is for the real estate agent, right? And I'm always happy to offer counsel or advice or talk to you about opportunities. So Simi Kerr, you're amazing. I am so glad you are here, as part of my work family. We're really blessed to have you, and you gave us an extraordinarily beneficial hour. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And everyone watching, if I did not answer any of your questions, feel free to reach out to me. It's Simi at simirealestate.com. And feel free to call me, email me. I'll be more than happy to speak to you and answer your questions.
That's awesome. And it's SIMMI. And by the way, just as a reminder, if those of you who joined late, Simi's buyer intake questionnaire form is available for free for download at benkinneyagenttraining.com. It'll be in your inbox in 30 seconds. You'll see it on there, and we're happy to help. All right, well, we'll see you next week. Some of you, we will see you live, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Thank you, Simi.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.